Hello everybody, what's up? Void here again. Gonna try to make some more videos now that we get all these spoilers. September and October are like my two favorite months. I just love this part of the year. I guess it's because I always associated it with like new beginnings. So for me, it's kind of like the unofficial new year because you get a lot of new stuff on TV, new TV series coming out. And in Magic the Gathering, you would get a brand new set. So you'd get your pre-fall set that's coming out here. This one is Zendikar Rising, so I'm going to wrap up a couple of these cards from September 1st that I didn't cover. And if you're not aware, I usually just cover rares. I don't tend to cover bulk stuff like commons and uncommons, unless it stands out to me for some reason. So Archpriest of Iona. Right here we have a 1-mana human cleric. Archpriest of Iona's power is equal to the number of creatures in your party. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have a full party, target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. So I'm guessing this is what's going to replace allies, because I haven't seen any allies yet, and they never really caught on. So hopefully this party thing does. We get a Skyclave Apparition for 3 mana in white, a Core Spirit, 2/2. Whenever Skyclave Apparition enters the battlefield, you exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. When it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token, where X is the converted mana cost of the exiled creature. So kind of like a new take on a Banisher Priest, where instead of it coming back when this creature leaves, they just get a token that's equal to its converted mana cost. So I think it's actually going to be better than Banisher Priest and all of those. Just simply the fact that they don't get the creature back. It's like a permanent exiling. Here, the blue-red 2-mana Kaza Royal Chaser, legendary human wizard, 1/2, flying haste. That's a lot of good stuff right there. You can tap her. The next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of wizards you control as this ability resolves. I am all about this. I love it when you can add to a wizard synergy. You could even make a new commander deck around instants and sorceries and wizards. So I love that we're starting to see more tribal themes out of Zendikar. We had it before, but again, the allies were not super strong, and I don't think we need any more Eldrazi. Here we have a Shia, Soul of the Wild. This, by the way, is all September 2nd stuff, so I'm going to go over most of this and then hopefully most of what we have today for September 3rd. 5-mana green elemental, legendary creature. Ashia's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types, and they're still affected by summoning sickness, so this is actually pretty cool. So if you have some forest synergies, this could work out really well. Obviously, whenever you can make all of your creatures lands, you get more mana. I don't exactly know how good this could be as a commander, but again, if you do have the forest synergies, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. September 2nd doesn't really look to have too much going for it, but we do have some rares here. Swarm Shambler enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. You can pay a mana and tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on Swarm Shambler. So I think it's all around a pretty good value creature for 1 mana. If you're looking for something cheap just to fill out a +1/+1 counter deck, I guess you could go for it. And then we get Nighthawk Scavenger, 3-mana vampire rogue, flying death touch lifelink. So it combines a card we've seen before, Vampire Nighthawk, which was absolutely just a powerful creature all around. You had the 3 keywords, I believe it was a 2/3 before in the original Zendikar. You combine that with ES base power of 1, but Nighthawk Scavenger's power is equal to 1 plus the number of card types among cards in your opponent's graveyards. So they could have land, enchantment creature, artifact, planeswalker, and suddenly your 3-mana creature with 3 keywords has a lot more power. I think overall, on Commander, not going to be super special, just like Vampire Nighthawk, but limited, standard, gonna be a powerhouse. We do get a really sweet demon cleric here. Taborax, Hope's Demise, 3-mana 2/2 legendary demon cleric with flying. His lifelink, as long as there are 5 or more +1/+1 counters on it, which is actually going to be pretty easy considering he has a way to put counters on himself. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Taborax. If that creature was a cleric, you may draw a card. If you do, you lose a life. And this is what I've been looking for. I've been looking for just a powerful cleric synergy This being powerful in a way because it also incorporates a demon synergy. And you of course have the Shadowborn Apostles, which are clerics. So if you want to make a demon cleric deck, by the way, I think this is probably the first demon cleric in general, so it's pretty cool that we have a unique creature type here too. We have Maul of the Skyclaves, 3 mana, white artifact equipment. When Maul of the Skyclaves enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. The equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has flying and first strike, which is going to be incredibly powerful and limited. You know that. I think in equipment decks it's going to be just as powerful for Commander. Anytime you can pretty much get around an equip cost just by having it enter the battlefield, you're going to have a good value equipment spell, and I definitely think it's going to be good in Commander. With Coral Helm Chronicler, 3 mana, Merfolk Wizard, whenever you cast a kick spell, draw a card and then discard a card. And when Coral Helm Chronicler enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card with a kicker ability from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is one I want to see more of. I want to see more stuff that synergizes with kicker. I just think it would be cool if we could actually make a decent kicker commander deck. Then we get Soul Shatter, 3 mana, black instant. Each opponent sacks a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana cost among those creatures and planeswalkers they control. So very interesting that we're seeing in a main set something that's obviously going to be good for Commander, because 1v1 limited, this is only going to be decent enough removal. I mean, you get rid of their biggest threat, sure, but the main value here is in a multiplayer game. Then we get Amaris Call, a 7 mana sorcery in white. Create 2 4/4 white angel warrior creature tokens with flying. Non-angel creatures you control gain indestructible until your next turn. But you can also play it for a land. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 life, and if you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. So it's kind of like an even worse shock land, but at least it's a land option. So if you're desperate for that and you don't want to pay 7 mana, I think that's pretty good value there. So that's all for September 2nd. Going into the 3rd, we have Angel of Destiny. For 5 mana, we have an Angel Cleric. 2/6 flying double strike. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. I don't know how good that's going to be. At the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, each player, Angel of Destiny, attack this turn loses the game. So that right there could be good. I mean, yes, the attacks are going to be nullified pretty much. Your opponents can just take the damage. But if you do have an insane amount of life, which isn't hard to gain 15 more life than your starting life total in Commander, Angel of Destiny doesn't even have to deal any damage. She just has to attack. And we get this really cool looking vampire rogue, Zagras, Thief of Heartbeats, 6 mana, black red. This spell costs 1 less for each creature in your party. Flying Death Touch haste. Other creatures you control have Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. So we see a party mechanic here. Don't know how good that's going to be on its own. Gosh, I hope it's not like Allies. That's not going to be good news. Here we have Inscription of Abundance, so we need a translation. 2 mana, green instant with kicker of 3 green. Choose one. If Inscription of Abundance was kicked, choose any number instead. So we have 3 modes here. We can put 2+1/+1 counters on a target creature. Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures that player controls. Or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So for 5 mana, being able to do any of these, I think is pretty solid. So we can make a creature bigger, we can have it fight, we can gain some life. Pretty good if it just adds to the number of kick spells we get. We get Relic Robber, 3 mana, red goblin rogue, 2/2 haste. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player creates a 0/1 colorless goblin construct artifact creature token with this creature can't block, and at the beginning of your upkeep, this creature deals 1 damage to you. Then we get Arkhan of Ameria, 3 mana, Arkhan, 2/3 flyer. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. And non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. So we get kind of a stacks creature. I think that's overall pretty powerful. The non-basic lands entering the battlefield tap could definitely slow down some combos. Crawling Barrens is a land. You can tap for colorless mana, or you can pay 4 mana to put 2+1/+1 counters on Crawling Barrens. Then you may have it become a 0/0 elemental creature until end of turn. It's still a land, so you could still have those counters on it. Keep having it become a creature, and then maybe you might be able to deal some damage with it. That's pretty cool. So we get another card that needs a translation, Valica Exploration. 3 mana red enchantment with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card as long as it remains exiled at the beginning of your end step. If there's cards exiled with Valica Exploration, put them in their owner's graveyards. Then Valica Exploration deals that much damage to each opponent. So we get a pretty interesting burn enchantment here. Don't exactly know how powerful this could be, but maybe in a landfall strategy it gives you an alternate way of punishing your opponents. Then we get a Seagate Stormcaller, 2 mana blue wizard, 2/1 with kicker of 5. When it enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less. You cast this turn. When you cast it, if Seagate Stormcaller was kicked, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for the copies. I don't really know how powerful this could be. There are only so many good CMC 2 or less instant or sorceries, so I'm thinking this could be, I don't know, maybe get 3 ponders. And that's if you're kicking it too, so you're going to be spending 7 mana. I don't know if I like this card, but who knows. And then we get another card that needs a translation. We have Yasharn, Relentless Land. 4 mana green-white legendary creature, Elemental Boar. When Yasharn enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic forest and a basic plains and put them into your hand. Players cannot pay life or sacrifice non-land permanents to cast cards or use activated abilities. This card is pretty deadly in Commander, and sure enough, here we have the other card that pretty much does a similar thing, Angel of Jubilation. This is why I love Mythic Spoiler, because they'll put the cards right below it that do a similar thing, so players can't pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. Pretty much the same last ability there, and I think it's going to be a powerhouse in Commander because of that. Helps you out with your lands. So you could obviously throw this into something like Karametra, God of Harvest, just to get even more lands. I think that would be cool. But this is sort of the equalizer. This is how you punish your opponents in a Commander game, and I'm all on board for this. But anyway, that looks like it's about it for September 3rd. We might get some more stuff later in the day, but I'll cover that in a following video. You guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next time.